Can you all hear me? Okay. My name is Zinta, and in today's class, we'll be looking at how to integrate our smart contracts to a front-end app. Right? So over the couple of weeks, you guys have been building smart contracts, right? And you've been interacting with your smart contracts using your terminal. Am I correct? So in today's class, we'll be looking at how to build a functional dApp, right? And what makes a dApp is a front end and smart contracts. Okay, so for us to do that, there is a library called Starknet-Ract. There's a library called Starknet-Ract, and that's what we're using to build our dApp today. So if you're coming from React background, you will find this very interesting. But if you're not coming from a React background, don't worry. Eventually, it will become interesting. Okay, so Starknet-Ract is a package developed, of course, for Starknet. And it's basically a collection of React hooks for Starknet. So, can you guys hear me? Yes. Okay. So it's a collection of React hooks for Starknet, right? So what is a hook? A hook is basically a, I think we can call it a plugin, right? That helps us to hook into certain features in React. Are we together? Yes. All right. So Starknet-Ract is a combination of these other libraries. We have the Tanstack query. So if you're coming from a React background, you must have heard of Tanstack query, right? So it's used for fetching data. It's similar to Axios. And then we have the Starknet.js library. So the Starknet.js library is responsible for interacting with the Starknet blockchain. Are we together? So we have Tanstack query for fetching data, similar to Axios. Then we have the Starknet.js, is a library we use to interact to the Starknet blockchain. Then we have the ABI one canopy. It's just a TypeScript standalone environment that helps us pass our Cairo codes to TypeScript, right? So we're building on a client's environment. And you know Cairo is something that the client does not understand. So for type safety, we'll be using the ABI one canopy for, sorry if I'm pronouncing it somehow, to convert the types. It might be sounding funny and strange, but just follow me. You will understand much later, right? Okay, so now that we know what Starknet-Ract is, and also what is inside the Starknet-Ract package or library, right? We said it consists of what? Tanstack, Starknet.js, and the last one. Okay. So the next thing here is the agenda for the day. The first thing we'll be doing is to configure the Starknet-Ract into our dApp, right? Then the second thing we're going to do is to connect wallet. Are we together? Then the third one is to what? Read contract. And the last one is to write to our Starknet smart contract, right? All right, so we'll be coming back to this, but the first thing we'll be doing is to configure our Starknet-Ract. In order to do that, I think I have to escape this. I did something yesterday and pushed it to So I did something yesterday, and I pushed it to the Cairo Bootcamp 4 repo. So I want everybody to code along. Can I proceed? Is it better now? Okay. All right, so I did something yesterday so we can all code along, right? So I pushed the design. This is what we'll be working with, right? So for today's class, we're building a simple to-do list. And for us to build this to-do list, the first thing we need to do is to connect our wallet, right? You know you can't execute a transaction on the blockchain without a wallet. So that's like the first thing. The wallet is like logging in or authentication, right? So the first thing we'll be doing is to learn how to connect wallet, and then we'll be looking at how to write to the Starknet smart contracts we have written, and that is adding to do, and also how to fetch the to-dos we've added. Are we together? So you don't have to worry about this UI. It's there already. So you head over to the repo. I believe we all have this on our local machine. Am I correct? All right. So please, I'll need you to pull these changes. And let me just walk you guys through. So if you do not have that repo on your local machine, you can simply just follow this guide. So the first is to clone this repo. Then we cd into the folder, right? And then the next is to check out the front-end branch. How many of us have this cloned locally? All right, so I think the next step for you is to do git checkout front-end, but you have to pull first, right? So git pull. Are we there? Okay, so I'm just going to proceed. Is this good? Okay. So when you clone the repo, you will have something like this locally. If you can just take some seconds to look at my screen, you would have something like this, and the new folder would be the front-end folder, right? So for today's class, we'll be working inside the front-end. One more. Okay, so for today's class, we're working inside the front-end directory, right? So for those of you that have this already, what you just need to do is to go to your terminal, right? And once you're there, I'm going to just clear this. Once you're there, then you do git checkout to the front-end branch. Are you there? Can you see the front-end directory? You can see it. Perfect. How about you? Okay, so I think we're all together. Do we need to wait for someone? Nobody. All right, that's good. So now once you're there, the next thing you need to do is to install all the dependencies we have, right? So simply copy this, npm install, and paste it on your terminal. So you notice that we added legacy peer deps just to help us manage conflicts, right? So the Starknet JS version and the one inside Starknet-Ract are conflicting, right? So legacy peer deps is just going to help fix that. Are we together? So just copy this line and you paste it on your terminal to install all the dependencies. I've done that already, but let me do that again. Okay, so if you have this on your, you have a question? What's the error? I can't hear you. Exactly, so it means that you're not in the path. So you have to cd into front end, right? cd into front end. Once you check out the branch, you cd into front end. Remember, front end is where our front end codes are in, right? The root directory is for the Cairo codes. Are we together? All right, so once you cd, then you paste this. So you were getting that error because you were not in the front end directory. All right, perfect. So few more minutes. I really want everybody to, follow. right? Are you following? You don't look like it. Okay, sorry. Where are you now? All right, so the next thing we're going to do after installing all dependencies is to run this on our local machine, right? So to run this app, you simply type npm run dev. Are we together? Npm run dev. All right, so come in. I think I'd like to kill. I have something running on my default ports, which is like the 3000. So for most of it, it's going to be ports 3000, but for me, it's 3001, right? So you head over to your browser, and let's open a new tab. So localhost 3001, and yeah. So if you have this running on your local machine, congratulations, you made it to the to the first step of the class. How many of us have this running? Well done. All right, so if we go back to what we have here, that's the agenda of the day, right? The first thing we need to do is to configure Starknet-Ract in our dApp, right? So once you have your UI ready, for you to use Starknet-Ract in your dApp or in your front-end code, right, you need to configure the Starknet-Ract. Are we together? So let's head over to the Starknet-Ract documentation. So you just go to Starknet-Ract. All right, so this is the Starknet-Ract docs. If you are lost or you like to go over this alone at home or out of this class, just head over to the Starknet-Ract docs, right? And everything you're looking for is here. This is documentation for the library, right? All right, so we're going to skip this step because the project we cloned has this already. So there's no need for this part. And this is what we're interested in, right? So configure the provider, all right? Can we proceed? Okay, so in order to configure the provider, I'm going to go into the front-end directory and into the app directory, then layout, right? So the first thing we need to do, we need to import some hooks, right, from Starknet-Ract. So Starknet core, right? So we need to import the Starknet config, right? Remember, what step are we on now? Exactly. So we need to install the Starknet config. And remember, I went to app, then layout. So if you're looking for the file I'm in, you go to app, inside the front-end folder, then layouts.csx, right? Okay, so you need to wrap your entire app inside the Starknet config. So you need to wrap your entire app inside the Starknet config provider. Okay, so once you have this, the Starknet config provider is expecting some props, right? If you look at what we have here, it's expecting chains, right? It's also expecting the provider, connectors, and explorer. So please look up and pay attention. Hi. All right. So for chains are basically the networks. You've been building smart contracts and you know what chains are, right? So the two chains we'll be working with are mainnet and Sepolia, right? So for you to configure your Starknet-Ract, you need to pass in the chains to Starknet config. So let's do that. We need to import this chains. So we import from Starknet-Ract chains, right? So this is going to give you mainnet and what? SQL layer. All right. Then in order to pass that into the provider, you just come here. Chains is expecting an array. So you pass in your words, mainnet and SQL layer. Is anyone lost? Are we too fast? Okay, okay, all right. So is everybody here in this file? Okay, so I said to configure your Starknet-Ract in your project, the first thing you need to do is what? Import the Starknet config, right, from at Starknet-Ract core. Are we together? So once you have this, the Starknet config provider is expecting some props. We need to pass in some props to the Starknet config. And the first prop we're passing are what? The chains. So we said chains are what? The network. The use injected connectors is expecting recommended connectors, right? And the recommended connectors should be an array of connectors. So by default, the main wallets we know on Starknet are agents and bravos. All right. So we need to import agents and bravos from Starknet-Ract core. So agents, bravos. Here. So once you have that, you simply just pass it into this array. So agents, comma, bravos. So these are our recommended connectors, right? We can have more. I think Starknet is supported on other wallets like Bitjet, OKX, right? So if you have those ones, it will pick it up. But these are the what? Recommended connectors, right? All right. So the next thing we need to add here, which is optional, is include recommended, right? So we want to, we can decide to include the recommended connectors or not. If you don't want to work with agents or bravos, it's fine, right? So we're just going to say only if no connectors. So what this is saying is that if you do not have connectors, right, then we want to include what? Recommended connectors. It's not a big deal. It's just, yeah, it's just there. It works regardless. Then the next is the, all right, so let's proceed. Let's move quickly. So the next argument is random, right? So random is basically saying, sorry, not random, order. So how you want the connectors to be arranged. So if you want them to be alphabetical, all right. If you want them to be okay. So how do you think we should, what should the order be? Alphabetical. Okay, most people just use random, but so we'll do alphabetical. That's agents before bravos. All right, I think we're following. Okay, so remember we mentioned that the use injected connectors is going to what? Return all the connectors we'll be working with, right? So here, we can simply just get connectors. So if you log this object, you'd see all the connectors we'll be working with, right? But we simply just want to pass it to the connectors prop here. Are we following? So we got all the connectors from use injected connectors, and we passed it as a prop to Starknet config provider. All right. So now the next thing we need to get is what? The RPC. All right. So that's the provider. So provider, we'll be using the default provider, and wait, what happened? Okay. So we'll be using the default provider. You can simply just get RPC provider, sorry, public RPC provider, right? So you can configure yours, but yeah, for the sake of this class, we can just proceed with the default provider that is provided. No, public provider. Can you see that? Okay. So down here, provider is what? Public provider. Right. So the last thing we need to pass in is what? The explorer. How many explorers do we have on Starknet? 2. Not really. Well, like 4. There's Starkscan, Voyager, ViewBlock, and one other one. Can't remember. Okay. So we'll be working with Voyager, right? They've made a whole lot of things easy for us. As you can see, we're just importing and we're passing, importing and we're passing. All right, so let's import Voyager, and we pass that to what? The Explorer. Are we good? Please, any question on this? It's actually very simple. All we did was to what? Import these guys from Starknet-Ract, right? And then we passed in our recommended connectors to the use injected connectors hook, and also if we want to include the recommended connectors or not, then the order, right, of the connectors. And this hook in return gave us all the connectors, and we simply just passed that connector to the provider we have here. So we passed the connectors to the connectors prop, and then we passed in our chains, mainnet and Sepolia, to the chains prop. Then the provider, you know what we use providers to do, right? You use your provider to read, to interact with the blockchain. Are we together? So the default RPC will be, or the default chain of this provider will be what? Sepolia. If you want to work with mainnet, you have to configure that. Are we together? All right, so our contract is deployed on Sepolia, and this is perfect for what we'll be doing today. Then the next thing we passed is what? The Explorer, and our Explorer is what? Voyager. Are we good? Yes. So if we go back to our agenda for the day, number 1 is cancel this. We're done with number 1. Very simple. To configure is not hard, right? Okay. So the next thing to do now is what? Connect wallet. This is very important. Please, you have to, if coding along is going to divide your attention or you get distracted, just don't worry. Once we're done, we can push, right? And later on, you pull the code in. But I think if you can do it, why not do it? Okay. So to connect wallet, we need to find where this button is. Please, I need you all to go to your browser and make sure that everything is normal, right? Everything is normal? Someone said it's not normal. I think I have to restart my server. Okay, so mine is normal. I don't know about you guys. So to connect wallet, what do you think we need to do? What's the first step? We need to find where this button is located, right? Because the expected behavior is when you click on connect wallet, then we see a modal, right, with all our wallets. Then you select the wallet you like to work with, right? So right now, if we click, I've done the UI, right? We're seeing agents and bravos, but this is hard-coded. So even if you click on it, nothing happens. So let's make this word functional. Are we good? Is anybody lost? Nobody. Perfect. My students cannot be lost. All right, so let's find where that button is. So you go to components, then navbar. This is where the connect wallet button is. Can you see it here? Should I minimize this? It's okay. Okay. All right. So can we proceed? So when we click on this button right now, what do you think we're doing? What's this code doing? This particular code? Exactly. Perfect. It's just opening the modal, right? And what we want to do is inside the modal. Now, remember I told you that Agent X and Bravos are hard-coded, right? So we're going to take one of this, and for now, let's just comment this out. So to connect a wallet, please pay attention. The first thing you need to do is what? You need to import a hook. We've used one hook already, which is what? Use injected connectors. Remember what it does? It returns all the connectors. So now the next hook we'll be using is for what? Connecting wallet, and it's called use connect. All right. So in React, when you create a hook, the order is that the hook name must have use, then whatever it is you want to do with the hook. Are we together? So anytime you hear or you're importing something that has use, just know that it's a hook. And that hook is just, it has like a special function. It does just something, right? Like the other one returns connectors, and this one is going to help us what? Connect wallet. So it's called use connect. Sorry, we're importing here. We have it imported already. So just import it from the Starknet-Ract core. So the next thing to do is make use of the hook. So this is how you use a hook, like this. This is the syntax. So what do we need? We need to get the what? Connectors. We need to get all the connectors. Now that we have the connectors, let's display them. Now to display the connectors, we're just simply going to map the connectors. Map is similar to loop. You know, for you to display an array in programming, you have to loop, right? Yeah. Are we following? Yes. You can't just display an array like that on your client side. You have to loop through it, okay? So connectors dot what? Dot map. And map is going to give us each of the connector, right? So connector, like this. Now I'm just going to copy this and I'll paste it here. Let me uncomment all of this. Okay. So let's see what we have in our browser. So if I click on connect wallet now, can you see what we have? We have just one of this, but we're having 4. That's because we have what? 4 connectors. And I know someone might be asking, but we only added 2 recommended connectors, right? That is because I have more connectors installed. I have Bravos, can you see? I have Bravos, Agent, Bidget, OKX, right? So it's going to pick all the connectors you have that support Starknet. All right, so I'm simply going to replace the name. So connector.name. So can you see what we have here? So we have agents, Bidgets, Bravos, and OK Wallet. But for you guys, I don't think it's going to be the same. You might just have, okay, so you might just have agents and Bravos, right? So if you have just agents installed, it's going to be agents, just agents, right? So we just got the connectors from use connect, and then we mapped through all the connectors. And here we're just displaying the name of the connector. Are we together? So now I want to connect to Bravos. How do we do that? What's the expected behavior? The expected behavior should be that when I click on any of this, it should take me to the interface of that wallet, right? Okay. So in order to do that, I'm simply just going to import connect. We have the connect and also connect async. Who can tell us the difference? Connect and connect async. Eh? Hey, now wow, you guys are one person, chest this thing, connect async. One is asynchronous, the other isn't. Simple, it's in the name, right? Yeah. So you can use await with one, and you cannot use await with the other. You understand? So this one, which is connect, you cannot use await, and then connect async, you can use await on it. So when do you await? You await when you want to do something after the connection is successful, right? But I don't think we need that now, so let's just proceed with connect. So we'll come back to our map, right? And we're just going to say on click. Sorry, on click. Let's do something small. On click, alert. So if I come here and I click on Agent X, it says, right? Same thing. But that's not what we want to do. We want to actually connect, rather. So the next thing to do is to connect. Remember the connect we imported from useConnect, right? So the connect expects an argument. And the argument we're going to pass to the connect is what? The connector. You want to connect to something. What do you want to connect to? So we pass the connector here. Where are we getting the connector from? Exactly, the map. Remember we mapped the connectors array, and this variable is going to hold each connector at a time, right? Okay, so we're simply just going to pass the connector to connect. It's expecting an object, connect, connector, right? So we can simply just pass connector. Are we together? All right. So let's see if all we've been seeing will work. So connect, let me connect to Bravos. Our connect is not working. Why is it not working? Let's try agents. Okay. Right? Darn, it's working. I just needed to refresh. So this is my agent, and I want to connect. So I just need to enter my words. What's my password? It's asking us to what? Connect to DApp, right? And if we were on production or something, here is going to show the name of the DApp. You're trying to connect maybe Fundable. So instead of localhost, you'd see what? The domain, fundable something maybe .com, right? Okay. Now, they need your consent, right? You need to approve. So you simply just click on what? Connect. And that's it. You're connected. Right? But right now, it doesn't look like we're connected. So we need to modify our UI so that, number one, the modal should go away. Number two, we should display disconnected or something in case you want to disconnect, right? And we also need to integrate auto-connect so they don't have to be connecting all the time. Is this part understandable? Yes. Okay, they are not lost. It's just you that is lost. You want to blame everybody. All right, guys. So let's proceed. Okay, so we're using another hook, right? Remember, Starknet-Ract is a collection of React hooks. Perfect. So the next hook we'll be using is what? Use account. So, from the name, you can already guess what the hook does, right? So use account is going to return account. Anything account, you go to use account. If you want to connect, you go to Use connect. Perfect. So use accounts, and we need the accounts, right? What do we need again? I think we need the address, right? We'd like to know our wallet's address. So address, and also is connected. So it has other things. When you get back home, you can, explore that, right? So it's connected is basically, it's a Boolean that tells us if we're connected or not. Then the account returns the account object. Then the address is the address of the wallet you connected to. No questions. You understood this part, right? All right. So what I want to do here is, number one, when account is connected, what do we want to do? We want to change the UI, right? From connect account to something like disconnect. All right, so for us to do that, I have this design here. What is profile bar expecting? Okay, so we're just going to say if is connected, right? Remember, it's a Boolean, so we don't really need to check is connected is equal to true or is equal, it's a Boolean, right? We simply want to display this profile bar. It's in your code, actually. So if is connected and accounts, right? So we're saying if account is connected and there's an actual value in account is not null, right? Then we want to display the profile bar. Else we display what? Connect wallet button. Are we following? Is this part confusing? You're looking lost. It's not, right? Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to pass accounts.address here. So else, this is a ternary operator. If you're coming from Cairo background, you guys are familiar with if else, right? But it does the same thing here. It's just a ternary operator. So this is the condition. If this condition is met, this part gets what? Displayed or executed or run or something.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why do you need to check if there's an account? Can it be connected to an empty account?
Yeah. Sorry, come again. What did you say?
Why do you need to check if you are connected to an account? Because it's connected should actually change to if you are connected to an account.
Yeah,
account.
yeah.
So
why am I adding another check?
Yes.
Perfect. I can simply just take this out. It's still going to work, right? Yeah. But I'm doing that because of the address I'm passing here. So account is undefined once the component mounts, right? So we're saying that we don't want to pass an empty string to profile bar. So we're checking if there's actual account, so we can do account.address. You understand? If not, you'll be trying to access address from something that is null or undefined, and it's not allowed. Do you understand? Yeah. So if account, please, if you have questions, just draw my attention to that. So very, very simple. So we're saying is connected is a Boolean that returns true or false. If account is connected will be what? True, right? If account is not connected, is connected will be false. If account is connected, then the account variable will have an account in it. Else it will be undefined, right? So we're saying if this condition is met, we want to display the profile bar. Else we want to what? Connect wallet. Is anybody lost? Let's see. What do we have here? Let me connect to agents. Did you see what happened? I've connected before, right?
Yes.
So you remember the session. So I don't have to again. And it simply changed to disconnect sharply because I've connected already, right? So let's do something. Let's refresh. Now there's a problem. Anytime I refresh, I have to connect again. Do you think that's an expected behavior? No, it shouldn't, right? So that is where auto connect comes in. So if I've connected previously, once I'm on the page, right, it should automatically connect me to my wallet, to the previous wallet, except if I want to change the wallet, right? Then I disconnect and then do that. Okay. So to do that, we have to go back to our layout. And you simply just add auto connect here. I love Starknet-Ract. It's very simple. Don't you think so? Okay, so all right, so let's test out our auto connect. So Agent X connected. Let me close this. Let's see if we refresh. Can you see? Can you see what happened? Even when I refresh the page, I'm still connected. So this is an expected behavior. Are we good? All right. So, but then we have another thing wrong with our UI. The modal is not closing, right? So let's see. Now we're going back to the nav bar, and here. Is it here? Yeah. Okay. So after we connect, what do we want to do? We want to close the modal. Should we use connect async? Is it making sense now? We await connection, then close the modal. Does it make sense? Remember we said one is asynchronous and the other isn't. Okay, don't get lost. Just follow me gradually. Okay, so let's do something. We'll have a function here called handle connect. Handle connect. Okay, so handle connect should take in the connector. Simply import the connect. I don't want you guys to get confused. Connector is just a type. So we're saying we do not want to pass any other thing that is not a connector to handle connect. It has to be a connector. It must be a connector. All right. Then connect. Let's import connect async, and we want to also make this function async, right? So we can use await. So connect async, and connect async expects a connector. So we say await this, then what? Set is open. Remember, is open is responsible for the modal, right? Okay. Yeah, this is it here. So we just set it to what? False. Perfect. Someone is following. Okay. And we're going to replace this with what? Handle connect. But handle connect is expecting an argument, which is what? Connector. Oh, I'm proud of you guys. You're following. Don't worry, I'll give you guys assignments. That's when I'll truly know if you're following us. Okay, but for us to test this, we have to disconnect first, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is the button we're seeing here, this one here. Now, to disconnect, we need a hook. There's a hook for what? Disconnect. So I just say const use disconnect, and use disconnect is coming from Starknet-Ract core, right? So as you can see, it was added to the import here, right? So we just get the function we need, disconnect. And we go back to our profile bar. So we say on click, sorry, not on play. On click, we want to add this disconnect. That's it. That's how you disconnect. Okay. Sorry, still loading. Okay. Did we lie? Maybe. Coming. Let's make it, let's call the function. Our disconnect is not working. Wait, where did we get this disconnect from? Saw something process, exactly. It's not this one. We want to use this one. Oh, see what's happening. Profile bar is a component on its own. Nav bar is a component on its own. So we cannot have access to something we're calling a nav bar. Do you get? Yeah. So we have to bring this import here. Yeah, you understand? Yeah, because there are two different functions, right? So see where this one started. It's a component that we're using inside navbar. Okay. So, and then let's try to disconnect now. Okay, disconnected, right? All right, we'll connect again, then try to disconnect. So now we want to connect. Let's see. Our model is no longer showing. It's not perfect. All right, disconnect. That's it. That's all it takes to. That's all it takes to what? Connect and disconnect a wallet. Are we together? Very simple and easy. All right. Before we proceed, any question? No question. Okay.
I have a question.
All right.
Like one we're doing, the one we did for like Solidity. Like then if you connect your wallet, automatically it shows your wallet address.
Yeah.
But this one doesn't do that.
No,
You have to specify that or.
Perfect. Perfect assignment. Number one, display wallet address. No, it's actually very simple. It's inside. No, after this icon, you know, it usually shows 0x3 something, then dot, dot, dot. Make it short, right? You slice, you slice it, right? So after this icon, I want to see the wallet address. All right. Assignment number one. Thank you so much for that question. Any other question? No? No, but this one is actually very easy, like very, very easy. We have the account already, so it's just to do account.address, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at our agenda. We have 1, 2 done. So we're able to configure Starknet-Ract, and we were also able to what? Connect wallet. Now the next thing is to what? Read our contract. This is where we start the work. Okay. Is there a way to make this smaller? Okay, yeah, it has gone. All right, so I have a folder here called constants, and inside this guy, we have a contract address, right? So let's take a look. Let's take a look at this. Go to Voyager. So I'm going to paste this. Okay, it's on Sepulia. So the contract is deployed, right? And if you come to read contract, we have a get to-do list function here that returns all the to-do lists, right? Then if you go to write, we have 3 functions. The first one is to add, second is to complete to do, and the last one is to what? Delete to do. So let's see how many we can do, and the rest will be assignments. Okay. So if you look at the folder you have, you would see the constants folder in there, and there's index.cs file. So the contract address is there. But I think when we deployed this, can you help me check this contract address? Is it the same as the one you have?
Yeah.
The one you have ends with 74, right? Okay, don't worry. Still same thing, but I'll send this one after the class. All right. So now this UI, where's our UI? So we have some to-dos here. We have join Starknet Discord, write your first Cairo contract. These are still pending. And deploy a DApp on Starknet, that's completed, right? But these to-dos are what? Static. We had coded these values. Can you see them here? And this is not what we want. So I'm going to get rid of this. Now we have what? An empty array. We have no to-dos, right? So let's write a to-do. Let's submit a to-do to our smart contract, right? Okay, so we have this function here called add to do, and this function is added to the add button. On click, we're calling what? Add to do. This add here. So when I type here and I click on add, it should add the to do, right? Okay, so I hope nobody is lost. So the next thing we want to do is, let's take a look at some of the hooks we have here. So when you want to send a transaction to your smart contract, there are, think about 2 hooks you can use for that, right? But for the sake of this class, we'll be working with what? Use, send, transaction. I think we've used about 3 hooks now, right? Okay, so this is the 4th one. So this is the syntax for the use, send, transaction, right? Now, let's get to work. So I'm just going to create that here. So we say const use send words transaction. Okay. And use send transaction is expecting some arguments. So it's expecting calls. You know what calls are, right? Okay. Contract calls, right? So the transactions you want to execute. But we're just going to make this an empty array. Why? We want to pass the calls when we click on add. We don't just want it to just add without clicking add. Are we good? Okay. So the use send transaction gives us a function called send and also send async. One is asynchronous and the other is not, right? Okay. And you know what the send async does, right? In case we want to await something. So let's use the send here. Now, when I click on add to do, I want to send a call using the use send transaction. Okay. So to do that, you call send like this. But we need to write the calls, right? Okay. In order to write the calls, we need to make use of another hook called what? Use contract. Now, you want to send a transaction to the blockchain, right, which is Starknet. You need the contract. Because how else is use send transaction going to know which contracts you want to interact with? So you need to pass the contract you want to interact with to use send, right? So we have another hook called use contract. Sorry, not use connect. Use contract, right? So this use contract is expecting some arguments. The first one is the ABI. You know what ABI is? What's an ABI? Access where? Thank you. Thank you. So if you're coming from Web 2 background, you know it's similar to API. Perfect. Okay. So how do you get an ABI of a contract? How can I get an ABI of my contract? Exactly. So you go to any explorer of choice, right? and then you paste the address of your contract. Now, once you see your contract, you go towards class history. This contract does not have, sorry, code. You go to the code tab, right? Not class history. And here you have your words, ABI, right? But to copy, just click on this copy here. And here, this is the ABI. So I have it already, but I'm just going to replace this. And I want it to be a constant. Okay, so to do what? To do underscore ABI, that's the ABI. The next thing to pass into the use contract is what? The contract address. You've passed in the ABI, but we still don't know the contract, right? So address will now be to do underscore contract address. Remember, my contract address is stored here as a constant, right? Okay. Now, if we go back to page, this use contract is going to return the contract. So you pass in the ABI and the contract address, and it will now return the contract objects. Then you can use that to work. So we say contract. Okay. And here, we can now say calls should be equal to contract dot what? Populate. Now, populate takes in two arguments. The first is what? The entry point. What is the entry point? The function name, right? And then the second is the call data. Is anybody lost? Should I come again? Okay, it's getting a bit advanced, right? Sorry about that. All right, so, but you understood this part, right? Yes. Okay. Now we want to add to do. And the send function is expecting calls. You know what calls are? Anytime you execute or you want to execute a transaction, it's a call. You're making a call to the smart contract, right? Okay. So we're now saying this contract that we have, now we have our contract and we can now use the contract to what? Populate, the blockchain, right? So we're saying contract.populate. What do you want to populate? Which function do you want to populate? We want to populate add to do. Do you understand? So if we go back to the Voyager, you would see that on the right contract, we have 3 entry points here. We have add to do, complete to do, and delete to do. Now we want to what? Add to do. Please don't get lost. Just don't worry. It will sync when everything is all together. So the name of the function is what? Add to do. Let me add another S and see. You see? This is one good thing about the ABI. So you can't come and start calling an entry point that doesn't exist. All right, so add to do. And the next thing is, the next thing we need is what? The value we want to add, right? Okay. So anytime you type, let me show you guys something. Alert input. See, what do we have here? Is there a way to move this? Okay. So when I type here and I click, join Discord, right? And we click on add. Can you see? So the input state holds the value. So whatever you type in this input is stored inside the input variable. Right? Is this part confusing? So now that we know where the value is stored, the next thing we want to do is to send that value to our smart contract, yeah? Our contract. Okay. So we come back here. We don't want to alert anymore. We want to populate. So contract.populate add to do, and then we pass in what's here? Input. And we also want to do something. So when you click on add to do without entering anything in the input field, we don't want to proceed, right? So we should just say if no input, just return. Don't do anything. So we don't want to send an empty string to our contract, right? So this is our calls. And then send, we can now say passing calls here. I think it's expecting an object calls. Or is it an array? Okay. So we want to make sure that calls is defined, right? So if calls, we're saying that if there is something inside the calls array, right? And array.isArray. This part is just making sure that calls is an array. So if there's something in calls, what if calls is not an array? We don't want to make that mistake, right? So if calls and array.isArray, that means calls is an array, right? Then we want to proceed. We now want to send the transaction. Then we want to send the transaction. So we can simply just maybe alert to do added words. Exactly. Okay, let's give this a go. Join log header, Web3 Discord channel, add. What error do we have here? Yeah. Send calls, so contracts, okay. Send is expecting an array of calls, right? And we've made this an array. Let's try this one. Oh, join. Are we connected? Now we're not seeing anything. What's happening to our DAP? Let's connect to agent again. Let's debug together. What is that laugh for? What's the problem? Look at my code and help me. What could be the problem? Nobody is helping me.
Well,
Which one is the previous?
Saying you are passing more than 31 characters and adding to do is of doubt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You guys are Cairo developers here. Good. Help me debug. What is wrong here? So this is the previous one. Where's the error again? You guys cannot help me. That's so sad. This should actually work. I'm actually surprised. Which one are we using? Calls, and we're passing in if no inputs, we return contract populate, add to do, inputs. How is that possible? We didn't. Okay. So what was the problem? Was it because we were checking if it's an array?
Yes.
Are you sure? You just said yes, so. Say that if I type it, I'll see it. All right, so something is happening. Our alert is not even waiting for us to send, and it's already telling us that we've. Yeah. So let's use our send async, right? And then we change just send async, or like await, right? Yeah. Okay, let's give this a go. I hope nobody is lost from our debugging session. Okay, right? So it's asking us to what? Confirm. And now we what? Confirm. To do added what? Successfully. So let's add another one. Join words. Watch. Follow me. Follow. All right. Now we've been adding to-dos, but we're not seeing our to-dos. So now we fetch to-dos. But do you guys have any question? Is anybody lost, confused, stranded?
You can actually try long characters like.
Okay, we should try long characters.
Yeah,
okay. Follow Zinta _dev and on what? X and at Zinta. No, there's no way I'm giving Instagram. At Zinta on where? On LinkedIn. On LinkedIn. It didn't work. You said we should do it. You see? Our characters are longer. So, does this work? So, but we should do something. Can we check if the length of input is greater than what? 31 characters. Then we alert text is too long. All right, let's do that. So, if input dot what? Dot length is greater than 31, then we want to do what? We want to alert text too long. All right. Text too long. Okay, all right, makes sense. So what should we say? Text cannot be more than 31 characters, all right. 31 characters. Are you guys following? All right, that's good. Do I need to try that again? No. Okay, so now we have been able to write to the contract. How are we sure that what we've sent actually worked? Number one, the wallet did not complain. So if the transaction didn't go or it wasn't acceptable, our wallet is going to complain. It won't sign the transaction, right? So can we do a little recap on sending the transaction real quick? Now, what did we do? Use send transaction. We got send async, right, from use send transaction. And by default, use send transaction is expecting calls. But we don't want to send the calls immediately. We want to click on something before sending the calls. And that's why we passed calls here as what? Empty array. We good? Now, we need the contract. Which contract are we interacting with? There's another hook called use contract. It's responsible for everything contract. It will return a contract to us. ABI, we need to pass the ABI of the contract to use contract, right? And also the address of the contract. And after that, we got back our contract. Now, when we click on add, we simply just want to populate our contract, call the entry point we're interested in, which is what? Add to do. That's what we did here. And the argument add to do is expecting, which is our input, an array. Okay, so here we just said if calls, we want to make sure that calls have been defined, right? If calls, we want to await send async. And send async is expecting what? An array of calls. It means that you can send multiple calls at the same time. But for the sake of this class, we're just doing one call at a time, right? Okay, so now let's read our contract. Okay, go on. Oh, perfect. So we're just saying that contracts can be optional. Okay, how do I explain this? In TypeScript or JavaScript, when you see question mark before a dot, it's just saying that this can be optional, right? If you don't want to do this, you can add it inside the check. You can say, if contract, then do this. There won't be need for the question mark. Do you understand? It's just like you making sure that there's actually something inside the contract. So if there's nothing inside, you just skip that process. The question mark will just skip it, throw it away. You understand? Now, if I take this out, you see it's complaining. And if I hover here, it will tell you that contract is what? Possibly undefined. You're trying to populate something that has the tendency of being undefined. You understand? So it's either you put it inside an if and check if contracts exist, or you add that question mark to just say, okay, if it doesn't exist, don't worry, don't shout, just skip this process. Do you get? All right. Okay, so now we want to what? Read the contract. Please, can I have your attention? This is very important. To read the contract, we need a what? We need a hook. So we can say const is equal to use read contract, right? And read contract is expecting. Do you need a wallet to read a contract?
No.
Perfect. So read contract is expecting ABI, right? Without the ABI, you won't be able to do that. then also the address of the contract you want to read. And here, what do we need to pass? We need to pass in to do contract address, right? Then argument is an empty array. Then what do we need to pass again? There's another thing. Okay, so we're missing something that is very important. We want to read a contract. Please, can I have your attention? We want to read a contract. We've passed the ABI. We've also passed in the address and arguments. Arguments just saying, you know what an argument is, right? If the read function is expecting anything or not. So in our own case, we're not expecting, the get to do list is not expecting anything. So it's going to be an empty array. But we're missing the entry point. Where should this read from, right? So that's the function name. And the function name is what? Get to do list. So you pass in what? The ABI, the contract address, the function name, and argument. So if there's any argument to pass, fine. If you do not have any argument, you just pass what? An empty array. So this is going to return what? Data, and is fetching just for loading, right? And also error. Now that we have this, let's do something. Let's log all this data. So console.log data, error, and is fetching. Okay. So if we go back to our browser and we inspect our console, can you see? The data is an array of what? We've sent how many to do have we submitted? 3. Yeah. So we have 3 here, right? And it's returning the ID, to do description, and status, but they are not in readable. So what's the type? What types are this? So we need to find a way to decode this, right? Okay. So now that we have this data, the next thing we want to do is, let's create a use effect. And inside this use effect, the dependency for the use effect is going to be data. So if data, right, and array dot is array, meaning data is an array, right? What do we want to do? We want to do something simple. Const result should be equal to data dot map, and this will give us each to do. Then text should be equal to do dot to do description. Status, is it status? To do dot status. Is our array? Okay, yeah, status. Okay, we forgot to return this. All right. So the next one is what? ID. Don't worry, I'm going to take this again. ID dot what? To do dot ID. So, and then let's set to do. Remember our state. Remember the variable that was holding the default to do we had, right? So we want to update that state with our new to-dos, the one we got from the smart contract. All right. So here we can just pass in results, but then we are expecting, this guy is expecting what? An array. So there's so many errors. So number one is that type number, big int, is not assignable to type string. Now, if you look at the type of data we have here, we're expecting a string. The text is also string. The status is also what? String. But what we're getting back from the smart contract are not strings. They are big ints, right? So we need to find a way to format it. So for us to do that, we can say short string dot decode short string, and we pass this here and just say to string. Short string is coming from Starknet. So this short string is responsible for short string dot decode is going to decode the text, right? From whatever it's returning now. You guys said it's what felt, right?
Yes.
Right, to a readable text, right? To something that me and you can read, because I cannot read that. All right, so let's do the same thing forward. Status, short string dot decode to do dot status to what? To string. Then this one too. Short string dot decode to string. Then you see the error is no longer there. Right, so let's check something. Okay. So now we have join Discord, follow at Zinta_dev. So we've been able to read from the smart contract, and I know it's confusing. A lot of people want to sleep right now. So should we take this again? It seems like most of you understood what we just did. The yes I'm hearing is not much. Okay, sorry, let me just close this one. Close this one. Yes, please.
How about the contract we are trying to read or write and have a constructor like this in argument?
Okay, if that takes in an argument, then you pass it in. Like, is you I'm asking when, because I did Cairo, right? And most times when you need something from a contract, what he's saying is actually valid. It can be that we have a contract that is relying on another contract. Let's say from the front end, you are a contract, I'm a contract, and when we initialize the contract, right, then maybe I want to pass in his contract address from the front end. I don't know if that's possible. I've not tried something like that, right? But I'm very sure that you can pass it when you are sending the request. Do you understand? Yes, when you're sending the request. Because there is really, if you take a look at the use contract we have here, I don't think there's anything constructor here. So when you're sending the request, it will pick it from there and make use of it. All right? Okay, I hope so. All right, so any other question? No, your question is valid actually. It's very valid, and I've not worked with something like that. A contract that required me to like pass in. I don't know if it's possible, but yeah, we learn every day. All right, so we have data here, right? Can we take this again? Hello? So what's confusing here? Nothing. Perfect. So who said nothing? You want to help us explain?
It's the same argument.
Exactly, the same.
It's the same thing compared to what we did in Solidity. Like, your function name, your API, your contract, and all that. Those data expression is the same thing.
Perfect. All right. Said it's the same thing. I like that. So, okay. All right, so we have this hook, right? Anytime you want to read from a contract using Starknet-Ract, we make use of use-read contracts. And the use-read contract expects some arguments from us. The first one is what? The ABI of the contract you want to read. The second is the contract address of the contract, right? Which is our to-do contract address. Remember, we stored it somewhere else as a constant. The next is the function name, right? So get to do underscore list is our entry point. Then the last thing to pass is the argument. This ARGS stands for argument, but we're not passing any arguments now, right? So, hi, you asked the question. If we had maybe something to pass while reading, maybe your constructor is expecting something, you can simply just pass it here. Argument. Do you understand? All right. Because this is the entry point. I don't have any other entry points. Sorry, go on.
Okay, can we see the right contract side?
Okay. This is it here.
Okay, so my question is, why didn't we pass function name there?
We did. When we did contract the populate, yeah, so this is where we called the entry points. We're doing this one this way because we're reading, right? But here we want to click on something. We want to add to do before we can now do contract the populate. But if I just want send, if I don't want to do it this way, you can pass the call here. Meaning that this contract the populate, I can simply just populate it inside here. Instead of passing calls as an empty array, I can do it here, right? Just put it in an array and you do it, don't worry about this. You need to check if contract exists here too, and before you do that. But if you check the docs, you see that they did exactly what I'm talking about now. If you go to use what? Use send transaction. Can you see it here? They passed their own directly. They didn't populate inside another function. You know, when you're coding, you have to be smart, and it's a game of logic, right? So there's no one way to do certain things. It depends on what works for what you're building, right? All right. So that's why I expect that for those of you that want to proceed with this, like you want to be building dApps with Starknet-Ract, you need to find a way to eat this documentation, right? You study. It's not even much. Like you can use a day to finish this. No, see, just get started, use balance, that's it. It's not, you can use a day, see where it ends, and you're done. There's not much. Is it? No. It's not. You can even teach me this thing tomorrow. You teach me tomorrow. All right, guys. So, okay, you said I should take this again, right? So once you pass the argument, you will get back what? The data. It's returning data, it's fetching, and some other things. These are not the only things use-read contract is returning. There are other things, right? So error, in case there's any error. Right now we do not have error, right? That's good. It's fetching to just keep track of loading if it's pending, so we can show our user, oh, it's loading, just wait for a while, right? Okay, then I think this is where most of the problem began. Now, here we're saying if there's something in data and data is an array, right? First off, we want to map that data, and to do the description is not the expected data type for our to-do array here. So we need to map and then format the data in such a way that it will work with our existing to-do array, our existing to-do state or variable, right? So that's what we're saying. Result, if ID, sorry, if to do, if data, then we map to do. And here we're saying ID short string dot decode, right, to get the actual value. Same thing for everything. And then we set the state. Okay. And we're displaying it here. I don't like raising my voice. When I raise my voice, and we're displaying our to-dos here, right? So we're saying if to-do and to-dos.map, right? Then we want to map the to-do, get the status, the text, and also what? The index, right? All right, so I think that's it. Now, the next thing we want to do is what? We want to strike a to-do. Let's say this is completed. I want to strike this. Now, let me show you guys something real quick. What do you think is the best way to strike this to-do? What are we changing? The status, right? We're changing pending to what? Completed. Perfect. So now we need to make a call to the contract. Okay. Thank you. So let's go. What should I write? So first off, we need to get the ID, right? So let's find our toggle. This is our toggle div. On click, we want to toggle status, right? So instead of index, we want to pass in the ID. So we can get the ID from here. ID, and toggle should take what? The ID. What's it saying? Okay, it's a string. So it was complaining that ID is a string, so we just converted it to a number. Yeah. Now, I want to alert. My ID. I don't know if those guys are following. So you see, this UX is terrible. It's actually loading, but we're not seeing anything. So we'll fix that. So when I click on this, the ID is what? 7. That's because we've added more and deleted. So same thing here. If I click on this one, we have 5. All right. So now that we are sure that the ID exists, the next thing we want to do is what? Make our contract call. So we say const what? Calls is equal to contract. So that same contract that we have, we can use it to sign more and more transactions. So contract dot what? Populate. What's the entry point? Complete to do. And what are we passing? It's expecting the what? The ID. Then we can now say if calls, we want to do await send async, right? And then we pass what? Calls as what? An array. You see? The difficult part is just setting up the contract and all, right? So, and we then alert what? To do status changed successfully. All right. Okay. Now, we come back here and let's strike and see. Which one? I want to strike this one. No errors. Perfect. Oh, no. There's not. So click on confirm. Okay, to do status changed what? Successfully. But, exactly. Why is this happening? Even after I refreshed, status is still pending. We're not checking for the status. No, we are. we're actually checking for the status. Remember, it takes a while for a transaction to be finalized. When you're interacting with a smart contract, it's not as swift as you changing something on the client. It takes a while, right? So if I refresh, it might still be that. Can you see now? So when you're building your DApp, you need to find a way to make this optimistic. You're selling an illusion of fastness to your users. So you can find a way to strike this before. Exactly. So when the contract is finalized, then they won't even know that something like that is happening. But if the network is congested, you know this is going to take a while. And the user might just think that, oh, it's not working, but it's working. So you need to make it what? Optimistic. Right? So you see, completing to-do was what? So fast. We're able to complete our to-do. All right, any question?
Is there a way to check if it is finalized on layer 2 so that we can, since when it's finalized on layer 2, we don't need to wait for it to be.
Yeah.
So
Yes, there is. There is actually. Just go and study Starknet-Ract. So there is actually, right? And yeah, but most times the best approach is to just make it what? Optimistic, right? You do it on the client side, makes it faster and all. All right, so you guys, I want to delete it to do. Oh yeah, what should I do? I wanted to give you guys as an assignment, but I think I'll find something better for assignments. It's too easy. Okay, so I want to delete it to do now. Yes, const what? You see? Okay, let's try your code. So, me, I don't know. I don't even think it's going to work, but okay, let me delete this one. Oh, okay. We have to wait, yeah. But sometimes it's actually faster than this. I think it depends on how the network. Okay, while we're waiting for this to delete, right? Let's do something. Can we add a loading indicator, right, to this guy? So we find this UI, UL. I'm just going to cut this, and it's fetching. We're using is fetching, right? Then we want to simply display, let's say p tag, right? Else. So you can make yours final later by adding a loading indicator. So we're just going to say loading, right? And here, text, align, text center. You guys familiar with Tailwind for styling? Okay. So did you see that? Oh, delete is taking forever. So you saw the loading, right? All right. So, any question? Are you sure you don't have questions? Eh? Yes, I am actually. I'm expecting tons of questions. Like 5 from here, 5 from here. So if there are no questions, then I assume that we understand. Hmm? Okay. So let's try adding. Now, wow, are you sure the delete we wrote is working? Let's test this again, right? So if we see that, then it means that something is wrong with our delete. It can be from the contract or from our front end. Oh gosh, what's the...
You can check from the log and
Yeah, so this showed up. Now, assignment number 2. Did I do number 1? What's assignment number 1?
To make our address.
Oh, yeah, nice. Assignment number 2. Figure out what delete. I think it might be from the contract actually. Something. Because we're not actually deleting. They said vect something you cannot delete from. So we're changing the status from completed to deleted. So if the status is deleted, we're not sending it back. You understand? Yeah. All right. So no questions, you guys said, right? Okay. So that's assignment number 2. Assignment number 3. When this is completed, right? The color of this should change. The color of the check should change. Okay, so now for our major assignments, our main assignments, you're going to build a contract. I don't know if you guys want to divide yourselves into 2, right? You build maybe one team will build the contract and the other team will build the UI. A very beautiful UI. So your assignment is, I actually want to give it to you guys. Pick a project. A fun project that you like to work on. You're going to build a marketplace, right? Yes. So I want to be able to buy music, buy songs from your marketplace. And it's very simple. You just I connect my wallet, I click on buy, I buy, right? Then what again? Exactly. You can sell to somebody, you can buy, you can transfer ownership of the song to another person, and we want the song to be minted. So when I buy a song, it becomes minted, right? It's what they call it? An NFT. It's simple now. Come. A very simple marketplace. We come, right? We see all the songs. I play the song. I like it. No, it's front end. It's actually very easy to play. No, yes, it's front end. It's easy. Not on, no. Not on the contract. Yeah. Yes. I don't know how you're going to represent it though. Yeah. Oh, no. We just finished to do now. Okay. You see why you need to build it, yeah? Can you see how you're already thinking about how to go about? No. We want to sell songs. Okay, maybe you don't want to sell songs. Can we sell lyrics? But I still have to play the song and listen to it. Yes, you're modifying it. Okay, I think we understand what we want to do now. Wait. Okay, wait, let me explain. No, this thing is actually very easy. You guys are the ones complicating it. You're thinking too far, but just calm down. You understand? Come to my level. You understand? You guys have gone way ahead. Yeah, man. Come to my level. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We are dividing the class into two. Some people are going to build the smart contract, while others are going to build the front end, right? So you come. I should be able to connect wallets. When I connect wallets, I should be able to upload my song, right? So you know you cannot send a file to the blockchain, right? Yeah. How do you intend to represent it? You hash it or something? Yeah. Then IPFS, perfect. Now, you upload your song, and you put it out. If you want to sell it, fine. If you don't want to sell it, now your wahala be that. Then, somebody else can come, see your song, they'll play it, listen to it, and then they buy. So he said that the more you listen to the song, the more points, and I think it's valid, the more money you get, you understand? So maybe anytime somebody listens to the song, we should allocate maybe 0.1 stack or 2 stack to the, so person's. Yeah. I don't like the fact that I will not be here to review my assignments. No. I'm going to tell Mr. Dave. I will join the call. And No. This is a group project, actually. If you guys flop, is a problem for all of you. You understand? So if the smart contract team won, perfect. We'll talk to Mr. Dave. If front end, just do your part. If you're doing front end, do it well. If you are doing smart contract, do it well.